Hi folks, and welcome to another video in the James Herbert ranking. And we're finally at number 11, the last book that I'll be talking about before I go into his top 10. Quite surprised at how fast this list has gone. I've mentioned before that Herbert wrote less books than Lehman, so this has been a quicker list to compile. But I'm still surprised about the placement of some of these books. It's a surprise even to me. I literally wrote down all the books and then put them in order of how much I enjoyed from least to worst, and here we are. And at number 11 is a book that on initial reading I really didn't enjoy at all. In fact, I actually stopped halfway through this book and put it down because I was just bored by it. But it was recommended that I give it another go, and I did, and I liked it a little more the next time I read it. Something's just fallen off. Honestly, there's a towel over there on the radiator that literally just fell off, and it gave me such a shock. Never mind. Anyway, moving on. I was at the heart attack looking at that thing. It was a ghost. Anyway, so yeah, I read it, but I didn't love it still. I recently listened to the audiobook version of this just to pass the time when I was doing something laborious, and I don't know, it just really resonated a lot more this time round. I think possibly because I was more focused on it. Maybe my mind was in a better place, or maybe I was just more interested in a slow burn, because that's what this is, and I think that's the crux of it. We're talking about the Magic Cottage, in case I haven't made that abundantly clear yet. But it's his novel from 1986, I think this came out. I always think that The Magic Cottage feels like a book that Herbert wrote a lot later in his career. This feels like something that he wrote in the mid to late 90s, because his 90s work's generally a lot more experimental, where his 70s is all sort of like very, apart from Fluke, which you'll find on my shorts collection because I didn't really have much to say about it. His 70s stuff's all very visceral and violent, and his 80s stuff tends to be a bit more developed. Slightly less with his visceral stuff, but he does repeat himself a few times with it. But here, this feels like a 90s work by Herbert, even though obviously it's a mid-80s work. And it's the story of this young couple who decide to buy their first home, and they find this home in the woods that's a bit run down, but they fall in love with it and do it up. And it kind of has this energy. It's called the Magic Cottage for a reason. I'm sure you can gather why. That brings out the best of them and gives them, I don't know, it improves the quality of their life, which improves the quality of the cottage's existence, and it seems to just have this infusing power over their life. But at the same time, there's this darkness going, and there's this cult, and there's negative energy that feeds off, which also leads to a lot of darkness. So it's a story which has sort of this constant battle between good and evil going all the way through it subtly, but it does come out a lot more in the end. And like I say, this is a slow burn. It's a very well written story with really great likeable characters. I loved both main characters. In particular, we've also got a character, I think it's Rumpo, who is a squirrel. Now, Rumpo originally appeared in Fluke. And he also appears in another Herbert book, what's it called? I know I'm pausing here. He appears in the 2000. I can't remember the name of the book. It's in 2001. It's in my top 10. I'll be talking about it later. But he appears in that one as well. But he has his biggest presence here, and he's one of Herbert's most likable characters. He's considering he's just a squirrel, he's got this really fantastic presence, and how he makes the characters feel throughout the whole story is really, really heartwarming, and yeah, quite emotional. I think he carries a lot of emotion in the book. The bulk of the story does seem to be this couple. It's written in first person, and this couple. And their feelings of discovery, buying a property, doing it up. Anybody who's ever bought a house and gone through that whole rigmarole, this rings true. and you'll recognise some of the emotions with it. But it also has, like I say, some of the weirdness going on. It slowly starts to build. I wouldn't say it really descends into full horror, but it does have a sort of quite a fantastical ending. I wasn't massively sold on that because it ends up almost like a war of wizards at the end, which gets a little silly considering the story is so subtle that its finale involving like a magic duel just to me felt a bit too much. I wasn't a big fan of it. It's not a bad finale; it just feels really out of place in the book. But there's this insidious build-up of tension with this cult and these characters that come across as really nice, but you know there's something odd about them. And I mean, the book tries to make out that the bats, that it's not a spoiler. There's bats involved with this terror. I thought Herbert's portrayal of bats here was actually a bit cruel, like making them out to be some awful sort of flying rats. I know the rats was like his trademark thing, but there's nothing wrong with bats, is there? Really, they're thoroughly great. They stink a bit, but they're nice creatures. Certainly, they don't deserve to be vilified in the way they were here. Although the way he describes them is quite nauseating in places. But yeah, it's a very slow build. It's a slow book. It plods along and it just slowly reveals layers, and it feels a lot longer than it actually is. It's not a big book, but it feels big. If you're in the mood for something fast-paced or action-packed, this will bore you. But if you are prepared to have something that's slow build, it's not a horror, and it does have tension, but it's a slow, sort of insidious build towards an explosive ending. I actually think this is well worth revisiting and giving it another go because this is quite divisive. I mean, I've read a lot of reviews that say that this is one of his best books. Some people love it, and a lot of people absolutely hate it. And yeah, my opinions of this have been all over the place. I originally thought this was going to be way further down this list, but on rediscovery, I do like it a lot more than I originally did. But I don't think it's worth his top. I wouldn't want to put it in his top 10, which is why I've got it at number 11. Really, it's just not quite a top 10 Herbert book for me. But again, mileage may vary. You have to like slow builds to enjoy this more. But I do think it's well written. I think that there's a lot of tension, and his characters are some of his best here. So that's the Magic Cottage in at number 11, which I think is a nice little spot.